The crimson sun of Gravros cast long shadows through the jagged rock formations. As the Krahal hunting patrol moved silently across the barren wasteland, their massive forms, standing nearly 8 feet tall with obsidian black hide marked by ritual scarring, blended seamlessly with the harsh landscape. Pack leader Thekever's nostrils flared as he caught an unfamiliar scent: metal, fuel, and something else, something weak. 3 days had passed since the skyfire had torn across their territory, leaving a burning scar in the sacred hunting grounds. The elders had sent them to investigate, expecting to find debris or perhaps the corpses of more sky dwellers to add to their bone collections. What they found instead defied every law of their ancient code. In a shallow cave formed by collapsed stone, a figure lay motionless beside what had once been Kargmuth the exiled, a Krahal male banished from the tribe for breaking the blood pact. The exile's massive frame was still, his throat torn open with surgical precision, dark blood pooling beneath him. But it wasn't the death that made the patrol freeze in their tracks. It was what lay beside him, a human female, no larger than a Krahal youngling, curled against the corpse as if seeking warmth. Her clothes were torn to shreds, revealing deep claw marks across her arms and torso that had already begun to scab over. Dried blood, both hers and the exile's, stained her pale skin like war paint. Her breathing was steady, deep, untroubled by the scent of death that surrounded her. Hunting brother Velter raised his spear, muscles coiled to strike, but Thekever's massive hand stopped him mid-thrust. The pack leader's yellow eyes studied the scene with the intensity of one reading sacred runes. The human's position wasn't random. She had deliberately placed herself beside her kill, one hand still resting on the exile's chest in the traditional gesture of respect for worthy prey. She sleeps the sleep of the victorious, Thekever rumbled in the guttural Krahal tongue, his voice carrying notes of disbelief. Look at her wounds, defensive marks from claws, not weapons. She fought him with nothing but her own body. The other hunters exchanged glances heavy with implication. Among their people, to defeat a full-grown Krahal male in single combat was a feat accomplished by few. To do so bare-handed and then honor the fallen by sleeping beside the corpse was a ritual so sacred that even seasoned warriors rarely achieved it. Yet here lay this tiny sky dweller, mud-streaked and bloodied, embodying their most revered tradition without ever knowing its meaning. As if sensing their presence, the human stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, not with the frantic terror they expected, but with the measured caution of a predator assessing potential threats. She didn't scream or flee. Instead, she sat up slowly, never breaking eye contact with Thekever, and placed both hands on Kargmuth's still chest in a gesture of protection over her kill. The silence stretched like a bowstring until Thekever made a decision that would echo through both their species' histories. He lowered his weapon and spoke the words that had not been uttered for an outsider. In over 1,000 cycles, blood survivor, the kill is witnessed, the sleep is honored. Dr. Maya Chen had studied xenobiology for 12 years, but nothing in her academic training had prepared her for waking up in the heart of a Krahal stronghold. The towering stone spires carved from living rock stretched toward Gravros's perpetually overcast sky, their surfaces adorned with the skulls of 1,000 hunts. The air thrummed with the low, harmonic growls that served as the Krahal's complex language. A sound that should have terrified her, but somehow felt familiar after 3 days of unconsciousness. She sat on a platform of polished bone in what appeared to be a place of honor, elevated above the central gathering space where dozens of Krahal warriors went about their daily routines. Her wounds had been tended with surprising gentleness, some kind of organic paste that dulled the pain and accelerated healing. Clean water and strips of what tasted like seasoned meat had been left within easy reach. None of it made sense according to everything humanity knew about the Krahal. They were supposed to be mindless killers, apex predators without capacity for complex thought or emotion. The expedition reports had been clear: avoid at all costs, engage only if necessary for survival, expect no quarter. Yet here she was, apparently a guest rather than a prisoner, watching as warriors who could snap her spine with casual ease went out of their way to avoid disturbing her rest. The truth came in fragments over the following days as Thekever the pack leader who had found her attempted communication through gestures and simple words. The Kurhal language was remarkably sophisticated once she began to grasp its structure, built around concepts of honor, strength, and the sacred relationship between predator and prey. What she slowly came to understand changed everything she thought she knew about her situation. The creature she had killed in desperate self-defense hadn't been just any Kurhal. Kargmuth the exiled had been cast out from the tribe for a crime so severe that his name could only be spoken in whispers. He had killed a youngling in a moment of blood rage, breaking the most fundamental law of their society. The elders had been unable to execute him themselves due to complex tribal politics, so they had banished him to die alone in the wasteland. By ending his life, Maya had completed a form of justice that the Kurhal themselves could not enact. More than that, the way she had fought using intelligence, desperation, and raw determination rather than superior strength embodied qualities they revered in their greatest warriors. The fact that she had slept beside her kill, even unconsciously, marked her as someone who understood the warrior's code at a level deeper than mere teaching. You carry the spirit of Kurhal, Bekover explained haltingly in the broken human words he was rapidly learning. Not in blood, but in soul. The ancestors speak through your actions. The formal ceremony came at sunset on her 7th day. Among them, every warrior in the stronghold gathered in the central space as the eldest female. Ancient Mother Scarthy approached Maya's platform. The old Kurhal's hide was marked with so many scars that her original coloring was impossible to determine, each mark telling a story of survival and triumph. In her massive hands, she carried a collar made from the fangs of ancient predators, a symbol Maya had seen worn only by the most honored warriors. As Scarthy placed the collar around Maya's neck, the entire gathering erupted in a thunderous roar that shook the stone walls. It wasn't a sound of aggression, but of acceptance, the formal declaration that she was no longer an outsider. She was Kurhal by right of survival, by proof of spirit, by the ancient laws that bound their society together. That night, as Maya lay on her platform of honor with the fang collar heavy around her throat, she realized that everything about her old life felt distant and unreal. The expedition, her research, even her own name seemed like memories from someone else's existence. She was becoming something new, something that belonged to this harsh world of stone and blood and uncompromising honor. 6 weeks after her adoption into the Kurhal, Maya faced her first true test of belonging. The morning began like any other, with the deep harmonious growls that served as the dawn call echoing through the stronghold's stone corridors. But when she emerged from her sleeping chamber, a carved nook that had been specially modified to accommodate her smaller frame, she found the central gathering space buzzing with an energy she hadn't felt before. Bekover approached her with an expression that mixed pride and concern. In his hands, he carried weapons unlike any she had seen among the Kurhal, a pair of curved blades forged from some dark metal that seemed to absorb light, their edges sharp enough to cut shadows. The craftsmanship was exquisite, sized perfectly for her human proportions. "Today you hunt with the pack," he announced, his words carrying formal weight. "The matriarch of the eastern reaches has challenged our right to claim a sky dweller as Kurhal. We must prove that our blood survivor can stand beside us when the death song calls." Maya's stomach clenched. She had been dreading this moment, the inevitable test that would determine whether her acceptance was genuine or merely ceremonial. The Kurhal were not a species that granted honorary titles. If she claimed to be one of them, she would have to prove it in the most fundamental way possible, by hunting and killing alongside them. The target was a pack of Gravro's sandwolves, massive predators that hunted in coordinated groups and could strip a Kurhal warrior to bone in minutes if they gained numerical advantage. Under normal circumstances, it would take a full hunting party of 8 or 10 warriors to bring down such dangerous prey. Today, Maya would join a pack of only 5 and she would be expected to contribute meaningfully to the kill. As they traveled across the windswept barrens toward the wolves' territory, Maya found herself falling into the natural rhythm of Kurhal movement. Her human physiology was different from theirs, smaller, weaker in raw terms, but also more agile and capable of sustained endurance over the weeks of living among them. Her body had adapted to Gravros's harsh conditions. Her muscles had grown lean and efficient. Her reflexes sharpened by constant exposure to a world where moments in attention could mean death. The Sandwolf's den was located in a series of interconnected caves carved by ancient water flows. The pack leader, a scarred female the size of a small vehicle, had claimed the deepest chamber as her lair. Her offspring and mates controlled the outer passages, creating a deadly maze that had claimed many Krahal lives over the years. Bekover outlined the strategy with brutal simplicity. They would split into two groups and drive the wolves toward the main chamber, where Maya would be waiting. Her job was not to kill the pack leader, that honor belonged to the senior warriors, but to prevent any of the wolves from escaping through the secondary passages. It was a crucial role that required timing, courage, and absolute trust from her pack mates. As Maya took her position in the shadows of the secondary cave mouth, the curved blades heavy in her hands, she felt a strange sense of completeness. This was nothing like her old life as a xenobiologist, nothing like the careful, controlled environment of academic research. This was raw, primal, immediate life and death decided by reflexes and determination rather than theory and analysis. The hunt began with the thunderous roar of Krahal war cries. Echoing through the cave system, Maya heard the scrape of claws on stone, the snarls of cornered predators, the wet sound of fangs meeting flesh. Her entire body tensed as shadows began moving in the passage before her three sandwolves, their eyes reflecting her position as they sought an escape route from the chaos behind them. The first wolf charged without hesitation, a blur of muscle and fury that would have torn through her defenses if she had tried to meet it head-on. Instead, Maya did what humans had always done when faced with superior physical force. She used intelligence and agility to turn the wolf's strength against itself. She sidestepped at the last moment and drove one blade deep into the creature's flank as it passed, opening a wound that sent it stumbling into the cave wall. The second and third wolves attacked together, trying to flank her from both sides. Maya's world narrowed to a series of calculated movements: duck, strike, roll, parry, each action flowing seamlessly into the next. Her human reflexes, honed by weeks of Krahal training, proved surprisingly effective against prey that expected to face the straightforward, charge-and-clash tactics of her adopted people. When the battle ended and the surviving wolves lay dead at her feet, Maya found herself standing over her kills with the same sense of completion she had felt beside Kargmith's corpse. The blood on her blades, the ache in her muscles, the satisfied exhaustion that came after successful violence, all of it felt natural, right? As if she had finally found the life she was meant to live. Bekover emerged from the main chamber, his hide marked with fresh scars, but his expression triumphant. Behind him came the other warriors, dragging the massive corpse of the pack leader. When he saw Maya's kills, his face split into the Krahal equivalent of a proud grin. "The blood survivor has proven herself," he announced formally. "Let none question her place among us." 3 months after the Sandwolf hunt, Maya's new life was shattered by the arrival of a human rescue ship. The vessel descended from Gravros's perpetually clouded sky like a metal angel, its hull gleaming with the advanced alloys and energy shields that represented the pinnacle of human technology. To the Krahal warriors who gathered to watch its landing, it might as well have been a divine manifestation. Maya stood on the observation platform of the stronghold, the fang collar heavy around her throat, and felt her two worlds colliding with inevitable force. Through the ship's viewports, she could see faces she recognized, members of the original expedition's support team, scientists and soldiers who had undoubtedly spent months searching for survivors. They had come to rescue her, to bring her home to the life she had supposedly been stolen from. The irony was bitter. She no longer needed rescuing. Captain Sarah Martinez was the first to disembark, her environment suit gleaming as she approached the stronghold under a flag of truce. Maya had known Sarah for years. They had served together on previous expeditions, shared meals and conversations, and the camaraderie that came from facing the unknown together. Now, seeing her old friend's familiar face, Maya felt a pang of something that might have been homesickness if she still considered Earth home. The reunion was awkward in ways that cut deeper than any physical wound. Sarah's relief at finding Maya alive was genuine, but it was accompanied by a barely concealed horror at what she had become. Maya could see herself through her old friend's eyes, scarred, feral-looking, wearing the ritual markings and weapons of a species humanity considered barely civilized. The gulf between who she had been and who she was now yawned like an unbridgeable chasm. "Maya, thank God," Sarah breathed, pulling her into an embrace that felt strange after months of Krahal contact rituals. "We thought you were dead, the entire expedition. You're the only survivor. We need to get you to the medical bay immediately. Run a full psychological evaluation." "I don't need medical attention," Maya interrupted, the words coming out harsher than she intended. "I'm not injured. I'm not sick. I'm home." The word hung between them like a challenge. Sarah's eyes widened as she took in Maya's appearance more carefully. The lean muscle definition that came from constant physical challenge, the alertness in her posture that spoke of someone who had learned to live on the edge of violence. The way she unconsciously positioned herself between the humans and the Krahal warriors, who watched from the shadows. "Home," Sarah's voice carried disbelief and growing concern. "Maya, these are predators. They're not even fully sentient by xenological standards. Whatever they've done to you, whatever form of Stockholm Syndrome, they saved my life." Maya's voice cut through Sarah's words like a blade. "They honored me when I proved myself worthy of honor. They gave me a place when I had nothing left." The conversation that followed was painful in ways Maya hadn't anticipated. Sarah and her team had come equipped with detailed psychological profiles, intervention protocols, and a complete misunderstanding of what the Krahal actually were to them. Maya's adoption was evidence of trauma and mental breakdown, rather than genuine cultural integration. They spoke about her recovery and reintegration as if her current life was a disease to be cured. Vekover and the other warriors maintained respectful distance during the humans' visit, but Maya could feel their tension. In their culture, belonging was absolute. You were either Krahal or you were prey. With no middle ground for divided loyalties, they had accepted her completely. But that acceptance came with the expectation that she had chosen them over all other allegiances. The moment of decision came when Sarah issued what she clearly intended as a reasonable ultimatum. Maya could return to the ship voluntarily for proper treatment, or the rescue team would be forced to classify her as mentally compromised and extract her under medical emergency protocols. It was delivered with compassion and concern, but Maya heard the underlying message clearly enough. They would take her by force if necessary. That night, Maya stood on the stronghold's highest platform and looked up at the stars that had once represented her future among the scientific community of human space. Below her, the Krahal went about their evening routines with the easy familiarity of people who trusted her completely. Vekover had offered to fight the humans if she wished it, not out of aggression, but simply because protecting pack mates was what Krahal did. She thought about her old life, the comfortable laboratory environments, the published papers, the carefully controlled research that had defined her identity for over a decade. Then she thought about the sandwolf hunt, about sleeping beside Kargmuth's corpse, about the moment when ancient Mother Scarthy had placed the fang collar round her throat and declared her worthy of belonging. There was no choice to make, really. She had been choosing for months, with every sunrise that found her more at home among the Krahal, with every successful hunt that proved her place in their society, with every night that she fell asleep surrounded by the low, rumbling conversations of a people who had claimed her as their own. When dawn came, Maya walked down to meet the rescue team wearing her full Krahal regalia, the fang collar, the ritual scars she had earned in combat, the curved blades that had drunk the blood of her kills. Sarah took one look at her and knew that the woman she had come to rescue no longer existed. "I'm staying," Maya said simply. "This is my life now. These are my people." The words felt like a door closing on everything she had once been, and like another door opening onto everything she was meant to become. *. 5 years after the rescue ship's departure, Maya stood before the assembled clans of Gravros as they faced a threat that would test everything she had learned about being Krahal. The hegemony humanity's aggressive colonial expansion force had arrived in system with a full battle fleet, intent on claiming Gravros as a mining world regardless of its indigenous population. Maya had evolved far beyond the frightened xenobiologist, who had once crash-landed on this harsh world. Her body bore the ritual scarification of a proven warrior, each mark telling the story of a successful hunt or defeated challenger. Her hair was woven with the traditional bone ornaments that marked her status as hunt sister to the pack leaders. Most significantly, she wore the ceremonial armor that marked her as speaker between worlds, the first outsider in Krahal history to be granted the authority to negotiate on behalf of all the clans. The role had been created specifically for her after it became clear that humanity's expansion into this sector was inevitable. The Krahal were fearsome warriors, but their technology was millennia behind human standards. In a straight military confrontation, they would be wiped out within days. Their only hope lay in Maya's unique position as someone who truly belonged to both worlds. The hegemony delegation that shuttled down to the planet's surface expected to find either a primitive species ripe for exploitation or a human prisoner in need of rescue. Instead, they found Maya waiting for them on the neutral ground between the human landing site and the Krahal territorial markers, a woman who moved with the predator's grace of her adopted people, but spoke with the authority of someone who understood exactly what the colonists represented. Admiral Chen, no relation to Maya despite the shared surname, was a career military officer who had overseen a dozen successful colonial pacifications. His approach was straightforward: offer the natives relocation to a reservation world, and if they refused, remove them by force. He clearly expected this encounter to follow the same pattern as all the others. Dr. Chen, I presume, he said, using her old title with deliberate emphasis. I'm glad to see you've survived your ordeal. We're here to bring you home and establish a proper colonial presence on this world. I trust you'll cooperate with our civilizing mission. Maya's response came in perfect Krahal, the deep harmonic growls carrying across the barren landscape, like a formal declaration of war. The Admiral's translator struggled with the complex concepts embedded in the ritual language, but the general meaning was clear enough. The clans rejected the hegemony's authority and would defend their territory. To the last warrior, you don't understand what you're facing, Maya continued, switching to human standard, but retaining the formal cadence of Krahal speech. These aren't primitive hunters you can brush aside with superior firepower. They are the apex predators of a world that has been shaping them for millions of years. They don't retreat. They don't surrender. They adapt and overcome, or they die fighting. What followed was the most complex negotiation in the history of human-alien relations. Maya served as more than just a translator. She was a bridge between two fundamentally different ways of understanding existence. The Krahal concepts of honor, territory, and strength had no direct human equivalents, while human ideas about economic development and resource extraction were completely alien to a species that saw the land itself as sacred. The breakthrough came when Maya proposed something unprecedented, a hybrid colony where humans and Krahal would coexist as equals, sharing the planet's resources according to carefully negotiated territorial agreements. The humans would provide advanced technology and medical knowledge. The Krahal would offer their unparalleled understanding of Gravros's ecosystem and their services as guides and protectors. It was a radical departure from standard colonial policy, but Admiral Chen was smart enough to recognize the alternative. A war against the Krahal would be winnable, but it would be catastrophically expensive in both lives and resources. Maya's proposal offered a way to exploit Gravros's mineral wealth while avoiding a prolonged military campaign against enemies who would never stop fighting. The formal treaty signing took place at sunset, under the traditional Krahal belief that important decisions should be witnessed by the dying light of day. Maya stood between the two delegations, wearing a specially crafted outfit that combined human diplomatic formal wear with Krahal ceremonial elements, of visual representation of the bridge. She had become as she watched Admiral Chen and Ancient Mother Scarthy mark the treaty with their respective forms of signature stylus and ritual scarification. Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. She had started as a scientist studying alien life forms from a safe distance. She had become something entirely new, a living symbol of the possibility that different species could not just coexist, but truly understand each other. The colony that grew from that treaty became a model for human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. Humans and Krahal worked side by side in the mining operations, their different strengths complementing each other in ways that neither species could have achieved alone. Human technology protected the workers from Gravros's harsh environment, while Krahal hunting skills kept the settlements safe from the planet's numerous predators. Maya herself never left Gravros again. When reporters asked her about returning to human space, she would simply gesture toward the stone spires of the Krahal strongholds and say, "I am already home." Her children, raised by both human teachers and Krahal mentors, became the first generation of true hybrid citizens, equally comfortable with plasma rifles and ritual hunting blades. The story of the woman who had been found sleeping beside a predator's corpse became legend among both species, but Maya herself remained remarkably unchanged by fame. She continued to hunt with her packmates, to participate in the ritual ceremonies that marked the seasons, to live according to the harsh but honest codes that had first earned her acceptance. Among the Krahal in her final years, as age finally began to slow her reflexes and dim her hunter's instincts, Maya would often sit on the observation platform, where she had once watched the human rescue ship arrive. Visitors would sometimes ask her if she regretted the choice she had made, if she ever wondered what her life might have been like if she had returned to the comfortable safety of human civilization. Her answer never varied: "I didn't choose the Krahal over humanity. I chose the life that made me most truly myself. Some people are meant to live safely, others are meant to live completely. I found where I belonged, and I never looked back." When Maya finally died, both species mourned her passing according to their respective traditions. The humans held memorial services in the colony's chapel, celebrating her role as a pioneer and diplomat. The Krahal conducted the ancient rite of the eternal hunt, believing that her spirit had joined the legendary warriors who hunted forever in the realm beyond death. But perhaps the most fitting tribute was the way the hybrid colony continued to thrive generation after generation. Maya's true legacy wasn't just the treaty she had negotiated or the bridge she had built between two worlds. It was the proof that belonging isn't determined by the species you're born into, but by the choice you make about who you're willing to become. Asterisk.